Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. He wanted to give the best to Nicole. Nicole instantly blushed upon hearing his proposal. Let's just keep things low-key. She was used to keeping a low profile on everything, and she was still unaccustomed to it. You're my fiancé, and I will certainly give you the best. Jared smiled and had already decided. Claus saw the opportunity. Let me handle it, Mr. Johnston. He enjoyed organizing these things the most. I promise it will be better and more fun than what a Dumbo like Max could come up with. Jared's face darkened, and Claus shut his mouth at once. But after a long while, Jared still agreed. Go and don't make mistakes. I guarantee I will get the job done. Claus smiled and continued to drive. Nicole did not expect Jared to proceed with things just like that. She felt awkward and did not know what to say, thinking the engagement was too sudden. As they arrived at the school, Jared took her back to his cafe for a cup of coffee. Nicole had a look of satisfaction on her face while drinking the coffee handmade by Jared. Looking around the cafe, Nicole suddenly asked, "Why did you open a cafe in front of the school?" Jared's hand paused, and he looked up at her. Because there were signals of Lucifer here. Nicole's face darkened as she finally understood something. It turned out that Jared opened the cafe here for her at first. Has my signal ever appeared here? Nicole thought for a moment and suddenly recalled the phishing program. Her face sank. The one who used the phishing program to catch me out was you. She and Jared had previously revealed their respective identities, and she also knew that Jared had put her on his wanted list, but she did not know at the time that Jared had used the phishing program to catch her. Of course, I wrote the program myself. Jared let out an evilly triumphant smile. You wrote that program? Nicole was surprised. That she had nearly fallen into the trap of the program showed how capable the person who wrote the program was. Just that she did not expect that it was Jared who created the program. Doesn't this mean Jared's hacking skills are as good as mine? Yeah. Surprised. He raised an eyebrow. Of course. If that program is really your creation, it will fetch a high price on the hunters. Nicole had a serious look on her face. Jared smiled. I'm not short of money. I wrote that program just to catch you. His expression looked explicit and fervent. His stare flustered Nicole, and she rolled her eyes at him. You have been getting better at teasing me lately, eh? Jared smiled. You've been getting better at complimenting me lately, too. Nicole's expression froze, looking a little bashful. Who wants to compliment you? Jared did not expose her, and the two of them laughed and drank their coffee. Just then, the cafe's door opened, and several Royal Creek Institute students poured in. Gary, the leading guy, saw Jared and Nicole and was stunned. Nicole and Jared also saw him. Jared's face darkened, and he did not intend to talk to him. Smiles faded from Gary's face as if he did not expect to meet them here. Jack and Wayne also saw Nicole, but they met Jared for the first time. They involuntarily glanced at Gary and immediately spot Gary's abnormal demeanor. Gary and Nicole had been rehearsing together for the past few days, and he could not be happier. With Gary's rejection of Rain, even fools could tell that he had feelings for Nicole. So no one expected to see Nicole sitting with a handsome man. Gary's face could not look sullener, but he said nothing but sat down with Jack, Wayne, and the others at an adjacent table and ordered coffee. Jared had sensed Gary's abnormality as soon as Gary came in. He glanced at Nicole and said, "He's looking at you." Nicole ignored it, only giving Jared a faint acknowledgement. After a few more sips and the coffee bottomed out, Nicole said, "It's almost time. I should go back." "I'll walk you to the school gate," Jared thoughtfully said. Nicole smiled. The two got up and left. As they walked past Gary, Nicole did not even look at or say hello to him but walked straight out. "Boss, did Nicole just ignore you?" Wayne was in disbelief. The two of them have gotten to know each other better because of the drama rehearsal, but Nicole has just ignored Gary in front of that man? That man seems to be very special to her. Don't bother with her. Gary was angry, but he did not want to get upset just because of Nicole. But he could not help but feel depressed as he watched Nicole get into the car. By the time he pulled back his gaze, he had lost his appetite for the coffee. He left after sitting there for just a while. Tonight, Gary could not sleep well, as his mind was full of Nicole. The next day in class, he kept staring at Nicole, and Nicole kept ignoring him. Finally, it was time for the afternoon rehearsals. Gary could not bear it anymore. While on the way to the rehearsal, he stopped Nicole. "What is the relationship between you and the man of last night?" Nicole looked at Gary with a frown, puzzled by his action. "Does it have anything to do with you?" She looked not too happy, thinking that Gary was too nosy. "Of course, Gary almost slipped up and revealed his feelings for her. Nicole pushed him away and said, "That person will soon become my fiancé. Think what you want." With that, she left. Gary watched in surprise as Nicole left. Fiancé? Is she going to get engaged to that man? His heart hollowed out at the thought of this. It was then that he realized he had cared so much about Nicole because he had fallen for her. But his realization had come too late. Gary leaned feebly against the wall, feeling decadent. Unbeknownst to him, Rain had taken all in from a dark corner. "Damn it, Nicole. I can't believe that Gary dumped me all because of you. When did she hook up with Gary that it made him so obsessed with her? What a slut." This new revelation caused her to lose her mind, amplifying her hatred toward Nicole. "I will make Nicole pay the price today, no matter what. Can't let her play the drama heroine and continue to hook up with Gary anymore." Nicole soon arrived at the rehearsal hall. Most of the people had arrived except Gary. Jack and others looked at Nicole. "Nicole, do you know where Gary is?" Nicole shot a knife-like look at him, and it struck Jack dumb. "Nicole doesn't look too happy. What does he have to do with me? We will just proceed with the rehearsal without him." Jack agreed with trepidation. As Nicole left straight away to talk to the others, Wayne elbowed Jack and asked, "What's wrong with you that you're so afraid of her?" Jack shot a glare at him. "Didn't you see the look in her eyes? She looked as if she was going to kill someone." He felt her persona was stronger than Gary's, so much so that it sent a chill up his spine. "I think you're just wimpy." Wayne turned and walked away. Just then, someone walked in. Everyone looked over and saw that it was Rain and her classmates. When Bradley saw this, he immediately stepped forward. "It is the rehearsal time of our class now. Please leave." Rain glared at Bradley. "We are the 12th graders, your seniors. Who are you to bargain with us?" Bradley was intimidated, and his face darkened. "What does this have to do with grades? The time is arranged by the student union, and it is our turn for rehearsal. Please leave now and stop interrupting us." They had only gotten a day of rehearsal time out of 3 days. So Bradley and others needed to make the most out of it and would allow no one to interrupt them. Rain looked at her companion and saw that Bradley would not budge. Her companion stepped forward and said in a sarcastic tone of voice, "Are you sure it is your class's rehearsal day? But I remember today is our turn. Obviously it's ours. Stop messing around." Lulu was anxious. Jack and Wayne looked at Rain haughtily. "Rain, are you here to pick a fight? If so, don't blame us for being rude." Wayne clenched his fists. Rain was not intimidated. "Are you getting physical in school? Beware of getting expelled." Jack and Wayne were startled. "Don't get an inch and want to take a mile, Rain." "So what if I do?" Rain hissed, not taking them seriously. "We remember today is our rehearsal day. Check with the student union if you're not happy with it." Bradley and others could not help but look at each other. The student union was in the university department, and going there back and forth would take at least an hour, which meant they would have one less hour for rehearsal. Rain was obviously trying to create trouble here, but they could do nothing about her. Just then, Nicole came up. "First comes, first serve. We started rehearsals before you came. Aren't you guys the ones who have a problem with this? That being the case, go to the student union to sort things out." Rain's face contorted with anger at seeing that Nicole was so glib-tongued. Her friend recognized Nicole by this time. "How dare you interject when we, the 12th graders, speak? You really need to be taught a lesson." There was a malicious look in the girl's eyes, and she raised her hand to hit Nicole as soon as her voice trailed off. Rain looked on triumphantly. She did dare to pick a fight with Nicole for fear that her grandfather would censure her. But if it was her friend who hit Nicole, it would have nothing to do with her. So she just watched. As her friend raised her hand to slap Nicole, someone grabbed her friend from behind, stopping her hand in the air. The girl turned her head with anger, and Rain also subconsciously looked back. They both were surprised to see Gary's handsome yet stony face. Still grasping the girl's hand, Gary threw her straight out and away with a hiss. He literally threw her away without the slightest worry that his action would injure her. The girl fell straight to the ground as if she had not reacted to what was happening. When she knew what happened, she scolded angrily, "Gary, I'm your senior, for God's sake. Are you crazy?" Gary did not bother to talk to her, his face stony as he looked at the girl as if looking at a dead person. "Whoever you are, I advise you not to pick a fight with Nicole again." Instead of the usual playful look in his eyes, he carried a kind of ruthless indifference. "Otherwise, I'll make you regret coming into this world." Gary's eyes had never been so frightening. The girl looked at him, trembling in fright. She scrambled to her feet and ran out like a bat out of hell. She could no longer care what Rain had told her. Rain was stunned at seeing what happened, not expecting that Gary was still so protective of Nicole, despite Nicole having rejected him. "Why are you so protective of her, Gary?" She could no longer bear it and pointed at Nicole. "She has just rejected you, hasn't she?" Everyone was dumbfounded, and Jack and Wayne could not help but glance at each other. No wonder Nicole looked so grave at the mention of Gary. It turned out that Gary had just confessed to Nicole. This is a big deal. Gary had never liked a girl in all these years at school, yet Nicole rejected him. Gary no longer cared about his ego. He looked at Rain with a frosty face. "That's my business, and it has nothing to do with you. Don't pick a fight with Nicole again. Don't say I didn't warn you." He was now conscious of his feelings for Nicole and would not allow her to be bullied. "You." Rain's face flushed with anger, and she glared at Nicole with resentment. "You're super, Nicole." With that, she stomped her foot and turned away. Jack looked at Nicole involuntarily, thinking that she would be grateful to Gary, not expecting that she would look even frostier than before. A Nicole like this looks even scarier. Nicole did not see Jack's frightened expression. She just came out from behind Gary and said, "I don't need you to protect me at all." Nicole had always been indifferent, just like her words. Gary bit his lip involuntarily, the detached look on his face fading, replaced by a warm and gentle expression. "You said that I might think what I wanted. I want to protect you, and you can't stop me from doing so." People around them were all stupefied. None of them could foresee that Gary could go so crazy for a girl. Both Jack and Wayne shrank from the sight of his action, thinking that Gary was too manly. Nicole had a headache, as she did not know why Gary was pig-headed. Seeing that the time was passing quickly, she interrupted by saying, "We have wasted too much time on this. Let's rehearse." Only then did everyone come to their senses and go back to rehearsing. Gary kept looking at Nicole with a feeling of emptiness inside him. "I just want to protect her. Why did she hate me so much? Is it really because of that man?" It came to the anniversary of the Royal Creek Institute in the blink of an eye. The coming of Lloyd and the directorial team to hold an audition for Lukewarm had already gone viral for a long time. Today, someone spotted Lloyd's director team at the Royal Creek Institute for the school anniversary celebration. Many people speculated maybe he came here to select the heroine. By this time, Lloyd had arrived at the lounge prepared for him by the Royal Creek Institute, waiting for the celebration to begin. Not long after, Anna knocked on the lounge door. "Come in," he whispered. The door was quickly opened, and Lloyd's face appeared in front of Anna. He had not much expression on his face, yet he was graceful. Even though he was just standing there casually, there was a kind of extraordinary charm in him. He looked at Anna with a faint sense of expectation in his eyes, but it was wrapped in a layer of unexplained emotions as if he was deliberately restraining himself. He lowered his voice and asked, "Did she attend the show?" The reason he came was to see someone, but he was afraid of disturbing her, so he could only watch from a distance. Anna looked at the tall and charming man with a helpless expression on her beautiful face. "Are you not inviting me to sit down and talk?" Lloyd said nothing. His eyelashes fluttered gently, with his eyes shimmering as he looked at Anna and said slowly, "Please take a seat." Anna sat down and sighed before saying, "As you wish, she's on the show." Lloyd's eyes lit up. "Really? I thought she wouldn't take part, judging by her dispassionate personality. If that is the case, the crew team wouldn't be able to select her, and my dream of acting with her would now come true. Fortunately, she is taking part. Thinking of this, an otherworldly smile crept across his face with an almost inaudible excitement in his voice. I really didn't expect that she would take part. I still have a chance. Anna stared at Lloyd. She had not seen him smile like that in years. It was apparent to her that Lloyd really cared about the girl. Don't worry. If she really has the talent, I will recommend her too. He looked at Anna with a growing smile on his face and sincerely thanked her. Anna nodded. You're welcome. I will leave you to it, and be prepared, as you may also have to speak on stage as a delegate today. Sure, Lloyd agreed. Anna gently closed the door with a hint of satisfaction on her beautiful face. As long as Lloyd cooperated with her well, she would have no problem helping him find a suitable heroine. Inside the room, Lloyd was looking forward to meeting Nicole. He wondered how her preparation was. Meanwhile, backstage, everyone had gotten ready. There was a waiting area for each class, with Class A and Class B next to each other. Nora and Nicole became the focus of both classes, and people were talking about them in private. That girl from Class B is the biological daughter of the Riddle family. Truth shall prevail. Just look at how pretty Nicole is. The same goes for her brothers. They're so handsome. Yeah, Nora is pretty ordinary before this. I wondered how she had such good-looking brothers. It turned out that she was not a biological child of the Riddles. They spoke louder and louder, getting pissed. Nora glared over at them, and they all immediately shut. After all, she was the leader of Class A. Nora chided them, saying, "Do you all have nothing better to do? Go get the props." Those girls knew she was using her position to take revenge for personal grudges, but they did not dare to say anything. They had no choice but to go get the props. Nora was irritable. She could not help but glance at Nicole in the Class B area. Bradley, June, and the others were all around Nicole, so she did not have to do anything. While Nicole's male partner was the handsome Gary, hers, after doing so much to get the female lead role, was a guy with a face only a mother could love. Nora, there is something on your head. Her male partner did not know what she thought. He reached out to help Nora remove the debris on her head, but Nora was bent out of shape and smacked his hand away. Get out of my sight. Nora glared at him in disgust. The guy's hand felt numb after Nora smacked it away. He looked at Nora in shock, racking his brain, trying to figure out why she was treating him this way, but looking at her icy face, he did not dare to get angry. He returned to his seat with indignation while grouching. You're just a fake. What are you so proud of? No one is obligated to dance to your tune. Nora's uncooperative attitude inflamed the guy. But he was secretly unnerved and bowed his head at seeing Nora's eyes, as he was afraid that she would send him to work with the props. Anyway, he knew that Nora now had no support from the Riddle family, and no one was afraid of her. The guy's face looked much better at the thought of this. Nora took off the debris on her head, only to find that the guy had been well-intentioned, but she did not bother. She thought she was the class leader, and he certainly did not dare to complain. But what happened next was completely unexpected to her, as the guy did not give a damn about her. The guy's family was much wealthier than hers now. At first, he flattered her, and the two became the so-called partner, but now Nora's status in her family had become somewhat special, so no one wanted to suck up to her. For this reason, the split between the two was completely normal, and no one was going to care. Nora was desperate when the guy refused to go on stage and read through the script. She could only apologize. It was my fault just now. I apologize. Let's do a read-through. What? Apologize? I've never heard that Miss Riddle would apologize. The guy fumed. What are you doing? Nora was frustrated when the guy raised his voice. What am I doing? Why ask when it was you who showed me your terrible attitude? Nora was embarrassed. Seeing more and more people staring at her, she could only say, "Didn't I apologize already? What else do you want? Is this your apologetic attitude?" The guy was clearly not too happy. She had given him an inch, and he wanted to take a yard. Nora did not know what more to say but pouted. She had no choice but to pacify him, but he was not appreciative of it. In the waiting zone next door, Vivian looked at how Nora kowtowed to her classmate, and she said, "Who is Nora without the support of the Riddle family? In contrast, look at how gleeful Nicole is." Vivian felt unspeakably jealous as she watched Nicole being swarmed around by Gary and everyone else. Oliver had liked Vivian, who had been sitting next to him in the class for a long time. He looked at her from the sidelines, her eyes glowing with an icy look engraved on his heart, and he could no longer recognize her. A deep sense of disapproval flashed in his eyes as he thought of Vivian's repeated actions against Nicole. "We're all classmates. Is it necessary to make things deteriorate to such a stage?" Nicole might have a cold personality, but she has never put on airs or done Vivian wrong despite her connection with the Riddle family. Has she? Unfortunately, Vivian would never notice what others were thinking. Jealousy had completely consumed her, and she could no longer tell right from wrong. So what if she is the daughter of the Riddle family? She is a yokel. The faces of those around her changed instantly upon hearing what Vivian had said. Gary, who had stayed silent all this while, stared at Vivian with frustration. "What are you talking about?" He had put up with Vivian many times. But now he had recognized his feelings for Nicole. He could not bear and did not want anyone to bully Nicole. Jack and Wayne were also stunned, wondering why Gary was standing up for someone else when he had never done so previously. Vivian looked at Gary's grave face and was surprised by how protective Gary was of Nicole. It was rare to see the fear on the face of someone like her who had always been undaunted. But for the sake of ego, even if the person in front of her was Gary, she still brazened it out. "Did I say something wrong? Isn't she just a village girl, yokel?" There was a rare tinge of deep red and frostiness in his eyes as Gary looked at Vivian. Lulu also felt that Vivian had gone too far and wanted to speak for Nicole. But since Gary had spoken for her, Nicole stopped Lulu. "Let's wait and see." She would not intervene since someone had taken care of Vivian. Gary was angry at this point. "Vivian, you went too far by repeatedly picking a fight with Nicole. Do you still want to keep your position as the class leader?" Vivian looked at Gary's sullen face in fright, momentarily loss of words because Gary threatened her because of Nicole. "Why are you so protective of Nicole?" She could not stand it anymore. "Am I the only one who can see through Nicole's disguise? She's not as good as everyone thinks." Gary glanced at Nicole when questioned by Vivian. An unexplained rage rose within him when he saw her nonchalant expression. Since he could not bear it anymore, he thought he might as well admit his feelings for Nicole in public. "I like her." "So what?" Everyone at the scene was stunned. Even those in the adjacent Class A and Class C fell into silence. Vivian did not expect Gary to admit in public that he liked Nicole. The same went for Nicole. She was dumbfounded for a long while, wondering what Gary was thinking. But Lulu and June were looking at her with a meaningful look. "What he thinks has nothing to do with me." Nicole felt there was nothing she could do about it. Her words sounded cruel, but it was a rejection in disguise. Everyone was surprised again by Nicole's rejection of Gary, whose family was far more prominent than that of Nicole, which was the Riddle family. Gary's face looked extremely grave, as if he had been humiliated in public. Still, with a nonchalant expression, Nicole stood up and looked at Gary. "Mind yourself. Don't cause more trouble for me, please." She just wanted to go to school quietly and did not want to get into trouble. After that, she gave Vivian an icy look and then strode away from backstage. "How dare you reject Gary?" Vivian looked on and muttered indignantly as Nicole left. Nicole did not only reject Gary but was also arrogant toward him. Vivian had liked Gary for a long time, and she hated Nicole for this. But as much as she hated Nicole, Gary did not spare a glance at her as he was chasing after Nicole. Oliver saw this and nudged Vivian. "You should see reality clearly. You and Gary will never be possible." "Shut up." Vivian shot her a glare and then turned to get the props. She was so humiliated because of Nicole. She told herself that she would make Nicole's life difficult today. Backstage was too stuffy, so Nicole went out to get some fresh air. As she went, she bumped into someone head-on. She dodged subconsciously, but when she looked up, she saw Harvey. Harvey seemed to be surprised that he would bump into someone whom he had not seen for many days backstage. His eyes brightened up, but his expression remained indifferent. "How are you?" Nicole raised an eyebrow. Of course, she was fine. I'm great. As she was about to leave, Harvey suddenly grabbed her hand. Gary was catching up at the time and saw the interaction between Nicole and Harvey. He was stunned for a second before he quickly hid in the shadows and observed them. He wondered if Harvey was also taking a liking to Nicole. Nicole looked back at the handsome Harvey with displeasure, seemingly seeing the sullen guy again. There was always a strong desire for destruction in his eyes, as if he had the greatest malice toward the world and did not have the slightest love for everything. No one, including Nicole, liked such a person. It did not help that Harvey was trying to pursue her. She broke free of his grip and looked at him with disgust. I've told you many times, we aren't that close. Yet he keeps on stalking me. Harvey looked at her. She had put on makeup for the performance, looking even more stunning in a fairy dress. But the disgust in her eyes was exactly the same as before. He lowered his head and smiled, but his voice was indescribably hoarse. He did not know what wrong he had done and why Nicole was so disgusted every time she saw him. I know we are not that close, but I don't know why I would rather make myself feel so bad than hold you. But she did not want him to hold her hand. Why is he willing to lower himself for me? He was the high-flying Harvey, but he did not know why every time he saw Nicole, he wanted to spend more time with her and feel as if the sun was shining into the depths of his soul. Nicole took a deep breath and kept her senses. I have given you many chances because you are Mr. Ellison's grandson. Now stop harassing me. Don't say I didn't warn you. She could no longer stand Harvey's rude behavior anymore. Why do you hate me so much? Harvey looked Nicole in the eyes, and for the first time, there was some sincerity. Nicole frowned. She did not want to waste more time with him, but his question really puzzled her. What does this have to do with hating you? People who are not close to each other should keep their distance. Nicole did not have any opinion about Harvey. To her, he was just Mr. Ellison's grandson. Harvey looked at her and knew that what she said was true. It is good enough that she doesn't hate me. Harvey had a faint smile on his face at the thought of this. Nicole looked at him and did not want to face him for another second. So she quickly finished what she wanted to say. I don't care what you think, but even if I don't hate you, please respect yourself and keep your distance from me from now on. Strangely, the smile on Harvey's face widened after Nicole chided him. He instantly felt better when he heard Nicole solemnly say again that she did not hate him. Nicole looked at Harvey as if she had thought of something, the smile on his face sending a chill down her spine. He looked better when not smiling, as his smile was elusive. Harvey is such a freak, she thought to herself. I'm not talking to you again, but please remember my warning, stay away from me. With that, she turned and was about to leave. Hearing her threat, Harvey let out a plastic smile and slowly moved backward as if he wanted to keep a safe distance from her. Is this distance okay? He said with an evil smile. Nicole was startled and looked helpless. Harvey, did you do this on purpose? You know that's not what I mean. She wanted him to stay out of her sight completely and stop bothering her. Harvey was patient. He gathered himself and said, Then what do you mean? Nicole looked at Harvey, knowing that he knew the answer but still wanted to ask on purpose as if he was buying himself time to talk to her. A hint of impatience appeared on her face, and he said in a bitter voice, Harvey, you know what I mean, don't you? So what's the point? You don't know. Harvey's expression remained unchanged. He just stared at Nicole as if he cherished the time the two of them spent together. There's very little time I can spend alone with you, isn't it? While speaking, Harvey raised a hand as if wanting to help her tuck her hair. Nicole avoided his hand. She frowned with a hint of disgust and impatience on her face. What do you want, really? Harvey gazed at Nicole. Will you believe me if I say I like you? Nicole's expression collapsed instantly. Has everyone gone crazy today? Gary just said something the same thing in front of the class, and here came Harvey. But Harvey, unlike Gary, is self-interested. Looking at Harvey's serious face, Nicole could not tell for a moment whether he was telling the truth or not. But it had nothing to do with her. I don't care what you have to do with Snow. As for what you say, it has nothing to do with me, and whether I believe it or not has nothing to do with you. Nicole tucked back the hair that had slipped down in front of her ear and then looked at Harvey with forbidding eyes. She had made herself clear she wanted nothing to do with Harvey, and this caused Harvey's face to darken. "You're right. It's what I feel, and it has nothing to do with you." Harvey suddenly took a step closer to Nicole, his eyes giving none of his emotion. But at last, they gave out a usual look of gentleness. "Believe it or not, but I've never been so sincere with people." He had to give up Nicole because of his grandfather. But he was already tired of Snow. As long as he could gain a foothold in the company, he did not need to resort to a marriage of convenience to help with his career. Then, he could chase whoever he wanted. Nicole seemed to sense his threat and suddenly turned away from him. Harvey saw her wariness and forced a smile. "You don't have to be so wary of me. I won't hurt you. You alone can't hurt me." She did not want to waste time with him, so she turned and left. "Remember my warning." She would not be nice to him if he still behaved like this next time. Harvey looked on helplessly as Nicole left. This is how it is. When one is judged to be a liar, no one is going to believe him, even if he tells the truth. But as time goes by, Nicole will know that I'm genuine. He pulled back his gaze and left. Gary stepped out of the shadows and stared at Harvey with grave eyes as Harvey left. Then there was Jared. Now here comes Harvey. "Nicole, oh Nicole, why do guys keep circling around you like bees to honey?" But he could not help that he had also fallen for her. Nicole bought 2 cups of ice Coke and went backstage. Seeing Nicole return, Lulu waved at her enthusiastically. "You're back." Nicole walked over expressionlessly and looked around curiously. Where are the others? There were still many people backstage when she left, but now most of them were gone. Lulu casually replied, "The show is about to start. They've gone to the front." Then she looked at Nicole with a cheeky smile. "I'm the only one waiting for you here." "How nice." Nicole handed her another Coke in her hand. "Here you go." Lulu was pleased. It was a wise choice to stay and wait for her, she thought to herself. Nicole did not know what Lulu was thinking. She took a sip of the Coke and pursed her lips. "Are you going to the front to watch the show?" "Okay, but you," Lulu was in a dilemma. She knew Nicole disliked crowds and noises, but she did not want to leave her friend behind. Looking at Lulu's dilemmatic expression, Nicole pondered for a moment. "If you like, I'll go with you." "Really?" Lulu almost jumped for joy. Nicole smiled. "Let's go together." Lulu nodded vigorously and then left backstage with Nicole to see the opening show. They found where Bradley, June, and others were sitting and sat down with them. Seeing Nicole come, they all looked a little surprised. "I didn't expect that you would come, Nicole," Bradley said. Hearing what Bradley said, Jack and Wayne looked up in surprise at seeing Nicole. Doesn't she dislike crowds and noises? Yet she is here. Nicole saw the surprised expression on everyone's faces. She swept her eyes onto the stage and saw Preston play the host. She then said slowly, "The host is my brother. I came to have a look." Only then did everyone understand. No wonder. Nicole looked back up at the stage. Preston had already started his opening speech. Today, he was dressed in a suit, which was unusual for him. He was handsome and tall, and his eyes looked bright. Nicole gazed at his attire with a thoughtful look in her eyes. She did not expect him to look handsome when dressed up. Lulu looked at Preston with a smile and said in a very kind voice, "Nicole, is Preston also your brother?" Lulu had only met Samuel, Spencer, and Stanley at school but did not know who her other 2 elder brothers were. "He's my cousin, actually," Nicole said, expressionless. Lulu nodded in acknowledgement and then looked at Preston with admiration. Nicole's brothers were all extraordinary. Preston had finished his opening remarks. He sorted his suit gracefully and proceeded to introduce today's guests. The Royal Creek Institute has invited Lloyd, an alumnus who graduated 3 years ago, to today's centennial celebration. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.